But why? Why do we want to talk about Latinos? This is a very special project. This really hits home for me. But today, I have the opportunity to start something with somebody that I see as a visionary, as a connector, as a movement builder. He is co-founder of NAREP, the largest Latino business organization in the country. He is working with 58,000 members across 100 cities. He is the mind behind the Hispanic Wealth Project, and he's not stopping right there, man. He's doing so much for Latino through Avance Global. He's doing so much for Latino communities all around. So it's real estate, sports, construction. He is creating paths for Latinos to rise, own, and lead. So I'm gonna hand the mic right now to my man, Gary Acosta. Gary, how you doing, man?
Charlie, you're too kind, but thank you.
So I wanted to start this conversation because we wanted to start this podcast talking about Latinos, trying to spread the word on what we're doing. But why? Why do we want to talk about Latinos?
Well, for me, it's about fulfilling a promise. It's about fulfilling our destiny as a community, right? So, I mean, it's great to be successful. It's great to be involved in really exciting projects and whatnot. But it's really great when you're a part of a movement that's a force for good. And that's what I think we're doing.
That is exactly what we're trying to do. So I want to start this conversation with, what does Latino power mean to you? This phrase, Latino power, what comes to mind when I say that?
So when I think of Latino power, I actually think about it a little bit differently. It's not just from what I would describe as more of a civil rights kind of statement. It's really about, like I said, it's about the fulfillment of our vision, about our promise as a community. And it's just all of us having the opportunity, maybe for the first time, to live the life that we were destined to live.
Yeah, 100%. And there's different areas in life where we connect. So I think Gary and myself, we connect through sports, first of all, but there's so much more to it. Why do we want to highlight all these areas, from business to entertainment to activism, all around?
Well, I think that, first of all, they're not mutually exclusive of one another. I think there is an intersection that a lot of them have with each other. So when I think about the kind of the goal holistically, right? So if I'm talking about advancing the Latino agenda, as I put it, right? It can't just be in one particular sector of the economy, right? It has to be amongst all, or at least most sectors. I look at sports as a really unique opportunity for two reasons. One, it is a growing business sector in its own right. So this is not just a little niche. This is a big part of our economy now. Secondly, because of its popularity, it gives us a chance to showcase Latino role models in a way that I think is really needed as well. So sports really checks a lot of those boxes.
Sports does check, and it does increase the possibility for people to dream. I want to know, Gary. I want to go to an 8-year-old Gary. He was just in school doing his thing. Was he dreaming about spreading the word of positivity through Latinos?
Well, I was a nerd, first of all, when I was 8 years old, right? So I don't know if I had that kind of confidence at that stage, but I was very lucky. My grandfather was a very charismatic leader. He was a church pastor, so he was a leader in the Latino community. And I got to see firsthand the impact that he had in people's lives. So I can't say at 8 years old I saw myself as sort of fulfilling this big role, but I certainly was inspired by the work that he did. And I knew that I probably wanted to do something similar, something that affected people's lives.
Something that impacted something. For us in Latino communities, we know how important abuelitos, abuelitas are. So family, I want to talk about family. How important is family and family values within whatever you do? Because I feel like you're doing everything, man.
So obviously the Latino community is a very family-driven community. I chose NAREP, the housing industry, because the home is the center of the family experience, right? And when we think about the work that we do, the ambitions we have, nothing motivates us more than our own families, right? We all have to have that why, right? You know, it's great to think about doing a lot of important things, but why are we doing these things? At the end of the day, that motivation has to be tied to something that moves us and that's very personal to us. And nothing, I think, satisfies that more than family.
Nothing does. So I heard the why, but I want to know when. When did you start this conversation, this project? Because it's not just one thing; it's a whole movement. So when was this movement? This moment when you said, "Man, us, the Latinos, we belong on the table too."
So I started NAREP 25 years ago. And the goal from NAREP was just to increase Hispanic home ownership, to give more Latinos the chance to participate in home ownership, because I knew that was a very important milestone for a number of different reasons. Then the crash happened. The housing crisis happened in 2008, 2009, 2010. Latinos lost 2/3 of their household wealth on average during that period of time. Not only that, there were a number of different stories and anecdotes that affected me personally. I knew people who lost businesses and lost homes and lost families, quite frankly, during that period of time. And it was during that experience that I started to think about the importance of being something bigger than something just transactional, right? You had to have something larger and more permanent than just finding another deal, making a little bit more money. That inspired me to create the Hispanic Wealth Project as I started to look at these things more holistically. And that led me to attending the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas. And I did that really just to see and experience a scaled, large conference and what it can do. But as I studied it and I started to realize the roots of that event really began pretty humbly. It was really started as a music festival, but it ended up being a platform that showcased it ended up being a platform that showcased Southwestern culture. And I started to think, why don't we have a platform like that? Something that showcases the contributions that Latinos are making from all these different sectors simultaneously. And I realized that this was something that was needed, and I wanted to be a part of something like that.
I love that. Bringing everybody together through one same mission. I want to be real in this moment because I know there are several blind spots on how Latinos really impact the world. What do you think is the biggest blind spot on how the world sees Latinos?
Well, I've said this, and I'm only joking modestly, but if I got all my information about Latinos from the media or from politicians or from third parties like that, I would think that we were a community that's full of problems. That we all have immigration problems, that we all have financial problems, that we all have problems with the law. So obviously, the image that is being sort of projected out there by the media and by third parties is not aligned with reality. The truth is that Latinos are driving economic growth in this country more than any other segment of our population. We're leading in terms of new household formations, new business formations, the acquisition of real estate, small business growth. All of these different drivers of our economy overall are primarily being driven by the Latino community here in the United States. There's one data point that says if Latinos in the United States were a standalone country, it would be the fourth largest economy in the world. And when you look at that and you think about that, you say, that is not the perspective that most people have of the Latino community. And I think it's on us to really create an appropriate and accurate narrative.
I know there's going to be thousands and thousands of young Latino people just watching and listening to this podcast. So what advice would you give these guys, everybody that's watching, that's listening, that want to do what you're doing and want to help impact and grow what you're doing?
There's one thing that any Latino can do to help us achieve these goals. One thing, and that is be successful in your own right. Be successful. Make money. Build a successful business. Thrive economically. Move up the ladder in terms of your business or the company that you work. Having prosperous Latinos across the country is the first step. Economic mobility is the first step. Then we're in a position to start to advocate for things that are bigger than that, right? Policy, making sure that we have a seat at every table, making sure that we're involved in the fabric of this nation in a much broader sense. But it begins with economic mobility. We have to all be successful in our own right. And sometimes we're a little bit shy about acknowledging that and recognizing that, right? And that's one of the things that we have to change as a Latino community. We can't be shy about being successful, or at least wanting to be successful.
This podcast is going to be made for people that aspire to create impact or to have an impact in what they do. As you said, be successful. So why are we doing this podcast? Why are we here? We're going to have a ton of crazy, imaginative, creative guests. So why are we doing this, Gary?
Well, first of all, I think this podcast, and I thank you for taking on this job, this role for us, because I was super excited when you decided to throw your hat in the ring and wanted to be part of this, because obviously you're a guy on the way up. You're in great demand, so I really appreciate that you've taken this on. So this podcast just begins a dialogue, right? It allows people to hear about this agenda directly from the mouths of the individuals that are participating in this. It gives us content to share on social media, which is important in how most people acquire their information today. You're going to see through this podcast that there are Latinos involved in the sports industry that you probably don't know about. Some of them you will know about, some of them you don't know about. People who are running sports franchises, people who are going to be probably top 5 in the NBA draft sometime soon, people who are going to be real influencers in this space. And I think that provides inspiration, it provides guidance, and it shows people that this is all attainable, and we want more people to be able to do these things.
There is no better way to start this podcast than obviously with you. So I only have 2 more questions for you, 2 more, because I know people really want to get all their info in very short minutes. But who is an athlete, given that we both live in the world of sports, who is an athlete that truly represents what us Latinos are looking for or dreaming about? Who you think is a true Latino athlete?
So I think that athletes in particular, and a lot of this is in the entertainment space, right? So it's not just the fact that they are a successful athlete. They have now built a brand for themselves, and they're building companies and businesses and generational wealth, right? So the athletes that represent that and speak to that are some of the most inspirational people we have. Look at what LeBron James has done historically, right? He is a brand, right? And you look at all the different media businesses and platforms he's created. He understands that his influence goes far beyond what he does on the court, right? And then, of course, we got Juan Soto and people like that in baseball that are changing the game and just signed the biggest contract in the history of Major League Baseball. I'm really excited to see what he does next. And then you look at people like Fat Joe, and you look at people like Jay Belvin, who are not only very successful entertainers, but also are building businesses, also are mentoring and sharing all their experiences with people who are the next generation of leaders that are coming within our community.
These are the people that inspire, that change, the game changers, literally. So my final question for you is, once this podcast is done, once we're all done, the whole project is done, how do you want people to remember you by? Once we leave this earth, once we go to heaven, how do you want people to remember you by?
To remember me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, one, I'd like them to remember that I actually was an athlete at one point. I played small college basketball for a very famous coach by the name of Greg Popovich.
Wow.
And Coach Pop, as you know, recently retired.
He is now El Jefe, right?
He's El Jefe. That's right. Right. So he really was an inspiration to me growing up as well. He was my coach, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, when those formative years are really all about. So one, I'm not just a guy who talks about it. I'm part of the community. I'd like people to remember that. But mostly, I hope that my legacy is one where I came from the community, right? I didn't have any special pedigree. I showed the power of a vision, hopefully, and what that can do to affect people, inspire people, and change lives. But at the end of the day, that's somebody who was just, passionate about making things a little bit better for everybody else.
And you do, Gary. You do. You inspire each and every one of us. Man, I am hyped about this podcast. I can't wait to start telling the stories. I can't even tell people right now who we're going to have on the podcast, but big surprises, big moments coming up. And I really want to thank you, Gary. Gary, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for opening so many doors for us Latinos all around the world, man.
Charlie, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, man.